What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be breaking down CBS's brand new 2024 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube at this point. Below my face is my board. It's always changing. Lots of evaluations or re-evaluations being put in, so it's pretty entertaining for you guys to get a first look at what I think of the players before I put up my official videos. Speaking of, I just did a top 20 offensive tackles videos. Yeah, not the top 10. And it is not your normal top 20. So feel free to check that out as well. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time. And, you guys know how much I love offensive line. So let's get right into this. Let's have a good time. Starting out with the number 1 overall selection, we got Caleb Williams. Let's not waste our time. This is the pick. It is what it is. Pick number 2, we got Jayden Daniels here. Essentially, Adam Schefter was almost like pretty much saying it's a guarantee at this point. I was on a podcast. He's like saying like, "Oh, enjoy Jayden," or whatever the hell you said. But I watched that portion. I was like, huh. Like, it really does feel like a done deal. When you look at the day one impact, Jayden is the best quarterback of the ones that are available. Drake doesn't keep an offense in rhythm because he misses easy throws. That's why a lot of people like JJ McCarthy more than Drake Maye. I'm not fully there because I'm a little bit of a hybrid between the actual NFL former quarterbacks that care a little bit more about keeping offense in rhythm, and then obviously the analysts, I mean, I don't even think I can classify myself as an actual one yet, but ones of us in the media community that love to see those splash plays. So Jayden is a phenomenal quarterback. He is my number 2 quarterback. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I think he's a very good quarterback. But Jayden Daniels is, he's a day 1 scheme fit. I hope that they can protect him because he is a little slender, but there's also a pretty damn good class for offensive tackles. So I think that, you're in pretty good hands. And I think that Jayden Daniels actually might end up being the second best quarterback from this class if Washington can handle the rest of the draft properly. Drake Maye goes at pick 3. I think that it is going to be the top 3. I think that there is a potential that Minnesota is wanting to move up to pick 3 to get Drake Maye. And I don't know if the Patriots are the right landing spot for Drake Maye. Unless they end up getting Tez Walker in round number 3, to maybe snipe and get a really good companion there for Drake Maye. There's no receiving weapons there. You still have a hole at left tackle. I think that a team that's a little bit more pro-ready that can handle a little inefficiency from the quarterback, missing those easy throws like the Vikings, are going to have a little bit more success than Drake Maye, who'd be going into, if he's not keeping the offense in rhythm, you have a quarterback there that is really damn good in Bailey Zappi at keeping the offense in rhythm, who kind of is almost the exact opposite of Drake Maye. So I don't know, like year 1 for the Patriots, I don't know if Drake Maye fits exactly what they're looking for. JJ McCarthy feels a little bit more what they're looking for. And I think if they can acquire, 2 firsts this year as well as a first next year, I wholeheartedly believe that the Patriots could end up actually winning that trade, and the Vikings could end up doing really well in that trade as well. Pick number 4, Marvin Harrison Jr. goes to the Arizona Cardinals. They're looking for a true number 1. It is the true number 1. I do have him just outside generational tier, but he's still a blue chip player. I love him to death. He's a great player, and Arizona would be stupid to pass on him. But it is what it is. At pick 5, we got JJ McCarthy going to the Vikings. Obviously, if we end up seeing the Vikings trade up and the quarterback's top 3 are off the board, it makes sense that they would trade up for JJ McCarthy. Keeps the offense in rhythm. Actually, one of my coworkers used to be a D1 college quarterback, but he ended up talking to me quite a bit about the quarterbacks and why he really loves JJ McCarthy. It's because he can play within a system. He keeps the offense in rhythm, and he's able to make those big plays when needed. At the end of the day, the goal is not to have the flashiest team. It is to win games and to win a Super Bowl. And we've seen quarterbacks like Jared Goff, Tom Brady. Obviously, I'm not grouping those two together, but guys who are not necessarily the biggest splash play guys on planet Earth, who keep offenses in rhythm, able to bring their teams to Super Bowls. Of course, Tom Brady is the exception because he kind of hybrids both those big splash plays as well as keeping offense in rhythm. But there were a lot of successful years where Tom Brady wasn't the flash play guy. It just was essentially keep your offense in rhythm, get within Adam Vinatieri's striking range. But JJ McCarthy could end up being a really damn good quarterback in this class. I think the Vikings would be a smart spot for him, and they could have some good success there. I would just, I think Drake Maye with that ceiling could be a little bit better with the firepower that they do have. Malik Neighbors goes to the Giants at pick 6. And it feels like the foregone conclusion at this point. I do think if Arizona trades out, they could trade back up. They did it last year. I think they're perfectly fine doing it again. And I think that the Giants are necessarily not in a position to maximize Malik Neighbors. It does scare the shit out of me. I just don't think Daniel Jones is a good enough quarterback to make Malik Neighbors worth pick 6. And I don't want to see another wide receiver essentially kill their career by going to a quarterback in a system that doesn't use their receivers properly. I know it hurts as Giants fans to hear that, but I'm just not a big fan. I've taken Malik Neighbors to the Giants because I think it's the best move, but it kicks me in the balls, so to speak, to see Daniel Jones being the quarterback for a splash player like Malik Neighbors. Then you got Joe All here at pick 7. It's the shoe-in pick. I would be surprised if he does not go at pick 7 if he falls past it, but he's a damn solid player. Ended up breaking him down more in my tackles video, so feel free to check that out. Then we got Dallas Turner at pick 8, another guy who's a pretty easy shoe-in. I did actually see something from my buddy Cam Marino earlier today, and it's bringing up the Terrion Arnold idea. I took that pick in Brett Coleman's mock draft that he came on the show. Check that out as well. But when you're analyzing pick number 8, I think Terrion Arnold is the dark horse selection. We've been talking about them going after corner for a long time. Devin Witherspoon was going to be their guy if he got to, I believe it was pick number 8, because they ended up, the DB coach from Illinois was also on the team. So it was part of that coaching staff. And then, apparently, I'm forgetting if it's the DC or not, but he coached Trent McDuffie at University of Washington. So they know the value of a player that's similar skill set to Terrion Arnold. And I love that idea. And I think it's something that should be at least thought about at pick number 8. I trust Raheem Morris to end up actually going with the best pick. And, with so many really good corners in this class, I wouldn't blame him for saying, hey, I'm going to get a first round quality edge or a great player here at pick 8 and then get a first round quality corner in round number 2 versus getting a great quality player here at pick 8 and then not actually getting a first round quality edge rusher there in round 2. I understand if you want to play it that way. And, at the end of the day, I think this would not be a bad idea at all. Then we got Rome Odunze to the Bears. I love Rome. He's a great player. He is number 21 on my board. People think that's ludicrous, and that's okay. I just love a lot of players in this class. I don't think the wide receiver class is as good as what people say. I think that we're getting a little bit hyperbolic with how damn good the class is, but Rome Odunze is a phenomenal player. He has a great build. He has a really good role, especially he has a structured role for the Bears. I'd have him higher on my board for the Bears board specifically. So keep that in mind. This is a holistic board, not taking into account team needs. So for the Bears, Rome Odunze would probably be top 5 on my board overall. But he probably would be actually number 4, come to think of it. But regardless, at pick number 10, we got Tali Fuaga for the Jets. People say it's not an instant impact. I think it's an instant impact right away. He's going to be starting over Simpson, and then he actually could end up taking some starting reps during the actual games at tackle in case of injury, which the offensive tackles they have are old and also injury prone. So it is an instant impact. Don't try to confuse it. Then we got the Chargers who moved back to pick 11, getting J.C. Latham. My only issue with Latham is I think he could end up being a guard transfer. A lot of the people that I know are starting to think that, because of the fact that he has a horrible time processing. He does not do a very good job at that at all. But the rest of his game is incredible. It's really the mentality, or not the mentality, because he's improved on that, but it's the mental processing of the game that JC really slips up on. But I'm really hoping that changes. I'm hoping that improves. I just am not super duper confident in it. At pick 12, we got the Broncos going Brock Bowers. It's going BPA. If you don't want to reach on a quarterback, going BPA is not a bad idea at all. I would just say trade back because this team is actually in a desperate situation where you might have to go after a free agent quarterback. Because you don't really want to start Jarrett Stidham, do you? I wouldn't. But Brock Bowers is a great selection if you stick and pick because you're choosing the best player on the board. Then we got Quinyon Mitchell here at pick 13 for the Raiders. He is my number 2 corner in the class. Obviously, he's a phenomenal player. Different skill set than Terrion Arnold completely. So I can't blame them at all if they end up going that route. Olufashanu goes to the Saints. Going best offensive tackle is the best move that you can do. So, big fan of that one. We got Brian Thomas here at pick 15. You know, Brian Thomas is an awesome receiver. He is right behind Romo Dunze on my board at 22. He is all the speed that you could want. He just needs a little bit more refining, but he's the reason I added it factor into my grading, because I could see him totally working out in the NFL. I think that he's better than the prospect he is today, and I've seen him improve over time, so I'm a big fan of that development. For the Colts specifically, I do think they need to go after an alpha edge rusher. I'd be trying to aim for Ricky Pearsall in round 2. At pick 16, we got Troy Fautanu, who's going to be starting out as a guard, but also has that tackle versatility. It's as good of a pick as you can ask for if you are going to be the Seahawks if you stick and pick. At pick 17, we got Terrion Arnold here to the Jaguars. He's my number 3 player, so you already know how good of a pick I think that is. He's just, pretty much everything you could ever want. I think that he'll end up being a top 5 corner in the NFL. Pick number 18, we got Amarius Mims, Bengals going to, or Bengals. We got 18 pick. Blah. We have pick number 18 for the Bengals going Amarius Mims. My only issue with Amarius is that he's dealt with some injuries as of recent, and it gives me Mekhi Becton vibes when a 340-pound player is starting to show some form of injury concern. Obviously, it's not something that's been extremely repetitive over history, but he hasn't really had time to show it. Marius has all the talent in the world, but his kick slide's a little slow. I do have some genuine concerns about Amarius, but the Bengals do have a year to develop him under Trent Brown. Granted, that's a little bit up in the air as to whether you want Trent Brown starting. Then we got Laiatu Latu going to the Rams at pick 19. It's as good of a pick as you could probably ask for the Rams. You need to have a skilled player there at pick 19. I would say Jared Verse is a little bit better, so I would probably push that. But you can see on my board, Latu's moving up to 15 from 32. He's jumped Marshawn Nealand a little bit because I love his mental preparation for the game. When I watched that actually added an extra point in terms of his overall, in terms of it factor that I did not put in my edge video. So he is my edge number 3 right now. He's a great player. I technically have him higher than even CBS, but probably shouldn't use CBS as our reference point. At pick number 20, we got Graham Barton to the Steelers. I'm just going to spoil it. I'm not a huge fan of Graham Barton. I have him similar prospect rank, and, I think that he's right now my 13th tackle, but he also is going to probably be like my 10th guard / interior prospect, which sounds ludicrous, but that just also shows you how damn good this class is. Graham Barton's a great player. It's just with so many really talented interior offensive linemen and offensive tackles in this class, definitely would not spend my first round pick on him. Pick number 21, we got Jared Verse to the Dolphins. I didn't realize that he was the first edge rusher on CBS's overall board, but talented player, 254 pounds, just really, really solid. Coming off 2 top edge rushers with season-ending injuries, I would not be too surprised to see this being the pick. Pick 22, the Eagles going Cooper DeJean. You have 3 safeties on contract for over a year. I just don't really think Howie would have made that investment if Cooper was going to be his guy. But 6 out of the 7 last first rounders have been top 30 visits, and Cooper was one of them. So it does kind of feel like it could be that. Could be Kool-Aid McKinstry, though, as well. At pick number 23, we got Byron Murphy to the Chargers. Couldn't have really asked for a significantly better first round. Byron Murphy and J.C. Latham, maybe I would have wanted Tali Fuaga or, maybe tested Olu Fashanu at right tackle, but you really can't get much better at all. Byron Murphy's a steal at pick 23. At pick number 24, we have Tyler Guyton to the Cowboys. I just think that he's a little bit more of a project than what the Cowboys should be looking for, but I have him within striking range of that pick. I think that's perfectly fine. He's a good player. You're just essentially saying Tyler Smith's going to be a certified guard, which is not something that I would be fully against. At pick number 25, we got the Packers going Kool-Aid McKinstry. I do think they love themselves this a guy who has an increased man press ability, because your new DC comes from Boston College that really does value that system. But I do like Elijah Jones, the cornerback from Boston College. I think that might be a target they go after a little later on rather than targeting a corner this early. But I'd be perfectly fine if they did this. It's very tough to guess what the Packers are going to do, because the Packers are really set up for success and they have a lot of draft capital. So this could end up being a linebacker. I think this might be the first linebacker off the board if I'm just going to, shoot it from the hip and be realistic as possible, because very few linebackers in this class, I don't know if they actually slip to where Green Bay is going to be picking. They've been notorious for drafting linebacker a little bit early with Quay Walker. Pick number 26, we got Chop Robinson for the Bucks. He's too much of a DPR and a project, designated pass rusher. That's what DPR means. DPR and a pass rusher. So I think he's too much of a project for a team that's trying to win now. I would say Darius Robinson is a little bit more likely of an option, or Marshawn Nealand, but Chop Robinson has a very, very high ceiling. Darius Robinson is the next pick for the Cardinals, though, at pick 27. He's a great player. I mean, to me, where is he at on my board? He's 54, which is perfectly fine. Like, actually, technically, that's the perfect spot where I start saying I would start doubting it, because I usually double the overall pick selection in the first round and say, hey, if you pick the 64th best guy at 32, that's fine with me. If you pick the 54th best player at 27th, as long as it makes sense, that's fine with me. That's where the value and need kind of match up. So Darius Robinson is a perfectly fine pick, because I do think the Cardinals need it, but also I do prefer if you went after Johnny Newton. At pick 28, we got A.D. Mitchell, who is a phenomenal player. It's as good. I've been saying this for a lot of players, or a lot of picks this draft. It's as good as you can imagine for the Bills. Ennis Rakestraw goes to why do I want to call them the Bengals? The Lions at pick number 29. I'm still recovering from being sick, if you can't tell. But this is a guy who I have top 15 on my board. He's right now at number 11. Probably will end up being knocked down a little bit more, but he's still a phenomenal corner who I've seen consistent success versus top end talent. It's him and Andrew Phillips that are kind of my guys so far in this draft. Of course, I'm higher on the majority of the corners than most people, so the whole entire corner class is kind of like a my guy. I think you would not be disappointed if you end up getting Rakestraw 29. Like, he's definitely worth it. It's just, you also have to factor in the fact that, there's a lot of good corners in this class, and you could probably get one there in round 2 as well. But Carlton Davis came in. It does look like corner is a high value position. But at pick 30 for the Baltimore Ravens, they go Jordan Morgan, who I think is a guard at the next level. Technically, he graded lower than Cooper Beebe, but because he does have that tackle versatility, I pushed him a little bit higher, and I think he's a little bit more athletic, so it gives me a little more excitement. And Jordan Morgan, though, he's a fantastic player. I just don't really trust him to be a day one starter. There's a lot of good starting tackles in this class, though. At pick 31, we got Ladd McConkey to the Niners, especially if Ayuk gets traded. This is like a day one replacement. I love that for him. They're just going best player available, and I'm not against this at all. At pick 32, Nate Wiggins goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Just got rid of Snead. Don't really think that's going to be their priority, because they're good at sniping guys later on. But if you see a stud fall into your lap, don't overthink it. Get the stud player. And I think Nate Wiggins is a phenomenal corner who has extremely high IQ. And, I'm glad to see that he was, I think, 182 pounds at his pro day. Of course, he didn't run at his pro day, but that's because he got injured at the combine. Hopefully that doesn't end up becoming an issue. If he ends up falling, that's probably the reason why, though. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching, showing the love that you always do. I love you all. See you on the far side.